Nevada, and now the host of Facing South Florida, Jim DeFede, joins us now. And Jim, first of all, what does Donald Trump need to do tonight?
Well, there's two ways to sort of look at this. What does Donald Trump need to do, and what is he likely to do? So let's talk about what he should do. He should sort of do exactly what he did in the first debate, those first 15 minutes, which was hit her on the economy, hit her on trade deals, go after those vulnerabilities. That's when he's been at his best. That's a winning message that he can drive home for the last 20 days of the campaign. Unfortunately, it looks like he may just do more of what he did in the second debate, which was just throw every haymaker possible and sort of move a little bit to that alt-right view of the world, where he's going to talk about conspiracies, he's going to try to bring in the WikiLeaks stuff, and it's just going to be very confusing for folks at home.
What does Hillary Clinton need to do?
Now, Hillary needs to, if you believe that she's ahead, which all the polls suggest, her game tonight should be more moving past Donald Trump, talking about the future, talking about what her vision of this country is going to be on November 9th, the day after the election. She shouldn't get cocky or ahead of herself, but she should give some sort of a vision for things that are a little bit more hopeful than the messages that they've been hearing for now. She needs to connect with people and not get down in the mud with Donald Trump.
Well, she spent the last few days preparing for this debate.
She spent a lot of time preparing.
Yeah,
There's a lot of preparing time.
In fact, Donald Trump has said, well, maybe it's because of her health or whatever, but do you think Donald Trump has prepared for this debate, because he didn't for the other debates?
Well, what we understand is that he's been preparing by doing mock questions on the plane, but he hasn't gone through like a full run through. Right. Like what Hillary Clinton and her campus do, they set up the podiums, they have people playing the different roles, and they go through it.
He doesn't do that.
He doesn't do that. And that could be important tonight, because the moderator, Chris Wallace from Fox, he's a very, very good interviewer. He will press and push in. And that's where Donald Trump may have some problems here tonight, as well as Hillary Clinton, but particularly Trump. When you start talking about immigration, beyond the first 30 seconds of the wall, what else is he going to say? And so Chris Wallace is likely to bore in on some of those things, and it could be really interesting.
We'll be watching along with you, Jim. Thanks a lot. And look for live coverage of the final presidential debate tonight at 9 right here on CBS 4.